Hello and a very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV with me, Paul Alster here, looking ahead to day 3 of Royal Ascot on Thursday the 16th of June, which is, of course, a ladies' day. So, girls, go get a big hat. And, of course, it is Ascot Gold Cup. So that is one of the feature races of the whole meeting. I'm looking forward to this because I've actually got tips for you in 4 races on Thursday. 3 of them in handicaps, 1 in the Gold Cup. And already we've had day 1, this bulletin being recorded on Wednesday lunchtime. So we've already had day 1 of Royal Ascot. We haven't seen the runners yet, how they're going to do on day 2. I'll come to those in a moment. But what a great start we made to the meeting. First bet of the meeting, Brad Sell, boom, in you go, 8-1. He won the Coventry Stakes in really terrific fashion from his wide draw, and that just couldn't have got off to a better start for us. I told you why I thought he'd win, and I'm happy to say that's what happened. Now, we then kind of had a bittersweet moment. Cardem, I thought, was going to run really well in the King Stan Stakes, but he was withdrawn. Well, he wasn't actually withdrawn at the race. He burst out of the stalls without a Jamie Spencer on him. There was an issue. And I'm happy to say the stewards decided to declare him having been withdrawn, which meant we got our money back. He drifted out to such a price, 66-1. I couldn't believe it. I kept backing him. He did, of course, cross the line in second behind the great Australian horse, but there was just one catch in that he didn't cross the line with a jockey on his back. So anyway, we got our money back there. Then we had a fabulous run for our money in the St James's Palace Stakes. Pat Dobbs. He'd done everything right on loose sail, dictating the pace, getting them all stacked up in each other's way, kicking on 2 out. When the horse on the rail faded, he didn't move over and take the rail, and that left a gap for Caribus, who went past him by half a length. He was fighting back at the line, just got beat ahead or something. Surely he would have won, given the way the race panned out, had he grabbed that rail, but nonetheless, it was a great run from Lucille for all the reasons I suggested, and 28-1 each way, get in there, a lovely prize. The last runner of the day, well, that one didn't manage to do it for us, but all in all, a great start and a very tasty profit for day 1 that will help us as we go on through the week. Now, very quickly, I recorded my day 2 selections much earlier than usual because I wasn't available to record Tuesday. And there's been some ridiculous market moves ahead of day 2. Eldar Alderov, that was 13-2 when I recorded the bulletin. He's now 11-4 favourite. I mean, I couldn't have imagined that, but that's the way it goes. Symbolize, can you believe it, in the Hunt Cup? 20-1 I suggested. He's down to 8-1. And Spirit of the Bay later on, 16-1 down to 12. Well, we found the value if you manage to get on. And if you didn't manage to get on, well, at least you know you're on horses that are expected to run well because there's a weight of support for them. But because of that, we're going to do the bulletins day by day to try and avoid the price changes being so dramatic. Just 1 or 2 other things. Thanks for your comments, most of them. Somebody asked why I was suggesting that Nottingham Maidens are worth watching later on in the season. Well, the reason is that the late maturing 2-year-olds running those mile maidens, horses that are going to go on to be decent middle distance horses the following season, and that's why Nottingham Maidens, such as the one in which Eldar Alderov ran, are very well worth watching. And of course, Desert Crown, I think, won a Nottingham Maiden before going on to win the Derby, so they are very much well worth watching, the well-bred late maturing horses that aren't going to be sprinters. Let's leave that there and move on to day 3 Royal Ascot. If you're joining me for the first time, please press the subscribe button below this screen. You'll get all my bulletins for free, and you can do what you like with my advice. Go with it or chuck it out the window. That's your prerogative. So my first choice is in the 305, the King George V Handicap on Thursday. 19 runners on this very quick ground, good to firm. Over 1.5 miles, so we're on the round course. Of course, Mark Johnston and Godolphin have both won this race twice in the last 10 years. Mark Johnston running Achnamara and Godolphin running Secret State and Franz Strauss. They've all got a bit of a squeak, but none of them really jumped out as obvious winners to me. Newfoundland for Aidan O'Brien. He was early favourite, although he's second favourite now. He won 1 mile and 5 furlong maiden, so no stamina doubts for him. Rated 90, it could be a decent mark. I see there has been plenty of money around, though, for Post Impress, who now trades as favourite. He was, of course, second to Eldar Alderov, the horse I've tipped you in the Queen's Vase on Wednesday, so you get a better idea about him probably by the time you see this bulletin. Mandobi, another one for William Haggis, who's won its last 2 runs. The most recent, over a mile and a half, is a very interesting runner. And Sir Michael Stout has Buckingham, who could be a dark horse, just scrambled home in a Chepstow maiden last time out, but the feeling is he's probably better than that. And off a rating of just 85, you could imagine him going quite well. Now, for me, the key race in assessing the form here is the race at Newbury on May the 14th, the London Gold Cup handicap over a mile and a quarter, which was won by John and Thady Gosden's Isnar. It beat Surrey Mist by half a length, and they meet again. And in the end, my choice in the race is Surrey Mist, who is trained by George Baker, a very old pal of mine who's trained horses for me in the past. Trevor Whelan is going to be on board, a jockey who rides over the jumps, has been a decent jump jockey, but he's a very strong flat jockey. Now, both Surrey Mist and Isra should stay this mile and a half. Isra is out of an Oaks winner, so no reason why not. And I just think that at the odds, Surrey Mist is the better value. He was dropping back in trip when he just failed to reel in Isra at Newbury over a mile and a quarter. Surrey Mist had previously won over a mile and 3 furlongs at Kempton, a race that's working out terrifically well. The form's red hot. And even though George Baker's horses haven't been running at the top of their game over the last few weeks, he's only been running really the stable sort of lower rated horses. He's got Sem Hong going later in the week, who could go well at a big prize. But I think this horse is well regarded. I think they believe the mile and a half is going to be to the benefit of Surrey Mist. He's a big strapping grey. He hasn't run before on the good to firm ground, but if you're going to tackle good to firm ground anywhere, you want to be tackling it on an uphill finish. It gives you a better chance. And I'm hopeful that Surrey Mist is going to run a big race. I'd like to believe that he's good enough to reverse the form with Isra, who is a big danger. And I think he's the value. At the time of this recording, Wednesday lunchtime, he's 14 to 1 each way for 6 places. And that's the 6th place offer with Bet365. But do remember, shop around, check the comparison sites. These bookies keep moving the goalposts with the number of placed horses, and the odds, of course, move together with the flow of money and opinion. So keep your wits about you and try and shop around if you possibly can. Now to my second choice at Ascot on Thursday. Now, I nearly didn't tip in this race, but it just seemed, remiss, I think is the right word, not to tip in the big race of the week, the Ascot Gold Cup. And when I looked at it again, having discounted the race originally, I looked at it this morning, and I did manage to come up with one for you. Remember, it's 2.5 miles. Very few horses genuinely stay 2.5 miles on the flat. Good to firm ground, and there are 10 runners. And of course, the really big name here is the great Stradivarius, a 3-time winner of the race, 4th in it last year. He's already shown this year he is still very talented, maybe not as good as he was, but he won the Yorkshire Cup at York last month. We know the ground suits him. He likes fast ground. He can use his turn of foot. The trip, of course, no problem. He's got that great temperament. He can switch off. And if he's within striking distance at the furlong pole, you'd still fancy him to go very, very close indeed. But he is 8 years old, and there might be a few young bucks coming up to just keep him out of the winner's enclosure. Now, one of them could be Kyprios. Now, I nearly tore my hair out last year at Royal Ascot. I tipped him and I was on to a few bob in the Queen's Vase when he got under the stalls and had to be withdrawn. It was a bit of a nightmare, but he was off for 11 months and then came out this season looking the horse that I really hoped he was going to be last season. Maybe in a way that break has allowed him to strengthen up and become a really serious horse, as it appears, because he beat his sibling Search for a Song, who's an Irish Ledger winner first time out. Then he won an Egg and Spoon Group 3 race last time out, beating some much lower rated horses in what was essentially a bit of an exercise canter. Now, He's highly regarded at Ballydoyle, and he could easily be good enough to win. The question mark, of course, one, he's never run on this ground as fast as this, and two, he's never gone this far before. But Aidan's done it time and time again with the likes of Order of St George, winning this race with horses that haven't done the trip before. So you'd have to think he's going to go really well. Now, the highest rated horse in the field is actually Alan King's Trueshan, a terrific stayer. Holly Doyle will be on board. She gets on great with Trueshan. He stays the trip. He won in France. He beat Stradivarius in the soft ground there in October, over 2.5 miles. But 3 times in his career, he's been withdrawn as a non-runner earlier in the day because of fast ground. And I can't see the ground easing. So I think he will possibly be a late non-runner. And if he does run, you'd have to be worried he won't let himself down on the fast ground. So even though he really is a class act, that just puts me off Trueshan. Now, Princess Zoe, of course, for Tony Mullins, terrific mare. She was second in the race last year to Subjectivist. So that was on fast ground. And surprisingly to many, she did handle it. And she's already won at Ascot this season over 2 miles. This is a much stronger race, but she won't be a million miles away. But after giving this plenty of consideration, I'm taking a chance here on Mojo Star, who is trained by Richard Hannon and is the mount of Rossa Ryan. Now, Mojo Star returning after 8.5 months off. It's going to be his first run of 2022, but in his previous 2 seasons, he's gone very close both times, first time out. So I'm not overly concerned that he's running without a prep race. Now, with him, like a number of others in the race, the trip is the question. Will he stay 2.5 miles? Also, will he handle the really fast ground? Well, let's take you back to last season. If you remember, he ran an absolute stormer to be second in the Derby to Adea. That was a brilliant run at big odds. And he went on to prove that absolutely no fluke when he was second to Hurricane Lane in the St Leger over the extended 1 3/4. And while he wasn't able to peg back Hurricane Lane, who on his day was a very good horse, he was keeping on and had the others well beaten off. Now, what triggered me selecting this horse were comments made by Richard Hannon in the aftermath on that day at Town Moor at Doncaster after the St Leger, where when he was asked about how well Mojo Star had run, he said, this horse, I think, is going to be just the right type of horse for an Ascot Gold Cup, and that's what I'll be looking to next season. So he's had this race in mind from the moment Mojo Star crossed the line in the St Leger at Doncaster in September of last year. And I don't know whether he would have liked to have got a prep run into the horse, or whether he, rather like me maybe, feels that the horse maybe goes best fresh. Richard's horses have already run well on day 1 at the meeting. The Persian Force going well in the Coventry Stakes. And of course, good old Lusail very nearly pulling off the big shot for us in the St James's Palace Stakes. So we have a young horse who's a classy horse, who's been placed in 2 classic races, who's from a top yard. There are question marks in different ways about many of these in the field. So my view is that at 16-1 each way, and at the time of this recording Wednesday afternoon, that's offered with William Hill's Coral Unibet Bet 365. I think Mojo Star is worth a chance, and we'll soon know whether the gauge is running on empty going down towards the final furlong, or if he has something left in the locker. And if he does, then he just might run a real stormer. Mojo Star for me each way in the Gold Cup. And then on to my third selection on Thursday at Royal Ascot. The 5 o'clock race is the 30-runner Britannia Handicap for 3-year-olds only over a mile. First of all, it's a cavalry charge. Secondly, they're 3-year-olds only. That means a lot of them are unexposed and are open to a lot of improvement. Still quite a few lights being hidden under bushels. You've got the draw to take into account. So it is a tough race. It's a really tough race to bet in. And on top of that, on top of me saying that there are horses that are unexposed, there are actually 3 horses in the field who are unbeaten. Now, Charlie Appleby's King of Time is 3 from 3. His latest win was at Newmarket over a mile. He's gone up £7. Who knows if that's enough to stop him? Then Clive Cox's horse, Who Put 15U, his latest victory. He beat Mighty Ulysses, who went close. He was only beaten a length and a half or something in the St James's Palace Stakes Group 1 on Tuesday. That was in a Haydock handicap. He's 4 from 4, is at Who Put 50 in You, and he's gone up £10 for his last win. And the other one is the excellent William Haggas's Yonafis, whose 3 wins have all come in the all-weather. So not only do we know if they've caught up with him in the handicap, we don't know how good he's going to be on turf. He might be even better. Who knows? So they're all really interesting. Appleby also has Tranquil Night, who's on a 4-timer. He's gone up £11. He ran a great race at Newmarket last time out. Charles Hills has a horse called One Ease, who's gone up £7 for landing a hat trick in a Sandown Mile handicap last time out. So I think it is no exaggeration to say that this potentially could be one of the hottest mile handicaps of the season. The draw could be a big factor. I'm always inclined to look for horses going middle to high, but on this occasion, the horse I've gone with is not drawn over there. And the horse I'm going with is an Irish raider called Fear McHugh. He is trained by Andrew Slattery, Senior, and ridden by his son, Andy Slattery Jr. And they do very well in Ireland with a medium-sized string. A lot of their horses are sort of middle to low-grade handicappers, but when they get a half-decent one, they do really well with them. And Fear McHugh is a really progressive horse. He's improving step by step, won 2 of its last 3, most recently taking a 7-furlong handicap at the Curragh, where to my eyes it won with quite a bit in hand. It came off a strong pace, which it's definitely going to get at Ascot, and it just cruised through to take it up, and in the end was eased down a touch to beat National Gallery by 3/4 of a length. And I think he was value for a little bit more. I'm hoping that Andrew Slattery will be able to sit quietly on the horse, maybe mid-division, let them all go like the clappers early on, and then as they're starting to fade, pick his way through them, and then unleash this horse inside the final furlong. Hopefully he'll be coming down the middle of the course. Andrew Slattery, the trainer, doesn't run many horses at all in Britain. He really doesn't call his geese swans, as they say. He wouldn't be sending a horse over if he really didn't think this one had a chance. And I think that this one could go very well, and it might be just a little bit under the radar. At the time of this recording, 25-1 is offered each way. Corals are going 4 places, but I'm sure they'll be betting 6 places, all the firms, because 30 run a handicap. There'll be some going 7 and some going 8. So I will definitely be betting 6 places, all being well. 25-1 is the offer at the moment. I'm hoping there might be even a little bit of 28s or something, or who knows, on the machine. Might get something good. Fear McHugh, each way in the Britannia Handicap, Royal Ascot, Thursday at 5 o'clock. And then on to my final choice for Thursday, day 3 at Royal Ascot. It's the final race of the day, the 6:10, the 7-furlong Buckingham Palace Handicap Stakes. Another cavalry charge, 29 runners over the 7 furlongs. William Haggis, who is going great guns. Montasib is his horse, 3 from 3, the latest, an easy win in a Goodwood 7-furlong handicap, for which he's gone up £10. He could be very, very dangerous. Charlie Appleby's got Silent Film on a 4-timer after wins at Sandown, Meydan and Bahrain. So he's been getting his passport stamped a time or two. A hard horse to assess, that one. And the stable also have Path of Thunder, who isn't without a chance. Now, at very big odds, there's quite an interesting horse trained by Kevin Frost called Documenting, who I thought could go well and might be better for a recent low-key run at York. It went close over the course and distance on good to firm ground in September, and that was off £1 higher. So I think Documenting could be one. Just have a look at that, see what you think to Documenting. And then Ouzo is another really interesting runner. It was 4th last year in the Royal Hunt Cup over a mile off a rating of 96, and was a very promising second, only beaten a neck on its first start for Jamie Osborne last time out at Sandown 3 weeks ago. It's gone up £4, but Jamie's very capable daughter, the apprentice rider Safi, claims 3 of those pounds back. So Ouzo, another one of interest. But my choice here is a horse that's owes us nothing, because he won the Victoria Cup for us when recommended at 16-1 a couple of months ago. That's Vafortino. Vafortino, an old friend of Sportsbet, trained by Kevin Philippart de Foy, known as KPF, and ridden by Benoit de la Sayed, this very exciting young apprentice jockey who's been in and out of the wars as far as breaking the rules are concerned, but he's apparently on the straight and narrow now, and he's a really talented rider. Now, as I say, I tipped him when he won the Victoria Cup over course and distance in April, and I thought he won that with quite a lot in hand. Riven Imp was third that day, will reoppose. Ropey Guess was fifth, he's back for more. I just think there could be more to come from Vafortino, who's gone up £5 to a rating of 102, which puts him on the cusp of pattern races, listed group races going forward. He's improved every time he's run on a decent surface. Every race, he's taken another step forward. And I'm really hoping that's going to be the case again. And I'm hoping he will handle what is probably going to be the quickest ground he's ever faced. Now, he's also drawn 20, which is a very useful draw, I think, towards the stand side. Once again, he's going to get the strong gallop he really loves. And if Benoit can sit in a good position and basically repeat the ride that he gave this horse in the Victoria Cup, I think he's going to run a massive race. Best odds available as of Wednesday lunchtime, 12-1 each way, with William Hill, Coral and Ladbrokes. Plenty of places being offered by a variety of firms. Now, there's just one other one I want to mention for this race, and that's a horse called Fastnet Crown, trained by Michael O'Callaghan in Ireland, who at the moment is best priced 22-1. Now, I tipped him last year when he finished fifth in a huge field in the Cambridgeshire, and he did us a big favour each way at nice odds. If he were to drift out to 28-1, 33-1, something like that, he might be worth a little bit each way as a saver, because I think he'd go very, very well indeed. I think the 7 furlongs will be a bare minimum for him, but in the expected frenetic gallop, it will suit. And I just thought that this horse has been trained with this type of a race in mind, and he was a good 8th for 27 at the Curragh last time. So just have a look at the likes of Fastnet Crown, at Documenting, and also Ouzo. But for me, I'll be nailing my main colours to the master Vafortino in the final race on Thursday, the Buckingham Palace Handicap Stakes. That's it for day 3. I'll be back tomorrow with a look ahead to day 4 at Royal Ascot. I hope you have a great time of things. If you've been following me day 1, you should be quids in and well ahead. So we're playing with the bookies' money. Let's hope they're not going to get too much of it back. Even better, we'll get a little bit more out of their virtual satchels. So that's it for day 3. Thanks very much for joining me. Paul Alster here at Sportsbet.